Ladies and gentlemen, if we can be moving towards getting ready for our meetings, that would be really lovely. And a big thank you to Michael and Felicity and Jenny and all those who've made refreshments in church possible for us today. So welcome to our annual meetings. As you know, out of our connection to the medieval way of doing things, we have it as two meetings because the first meeting descends to us from ancient medieval tradition when parish meetings were held and parish officers were elected. And there used to be 4 different kinds of parish officers elected. 3 of them, those offices have disappeared, being absorbed by local councils and the police force. But one remains, and that is the office of church warden. And so our first meeting, which is open to anyone who lives in the geographical parish, is the meeting of the parishioners, which is specifically for the election of church wardens. And I now declare this meeting open. The first thing that we would like to do in this meeting today is to address the church warden's measure. The church warden's measure is a piece of legislation from the Church of England, which is designed to govern the work of church wardens, to make sure that they're not abused by their vicars and exploited to do all the work for them, all of that sort of stuff. And within it, there are rules about election. And the rule is that so that you don't overwork a church warden who doesn't want to be overworked, they do 6 years and then they stop and get a Sabbath year. However, sometimes it is possible that a church warden doesn't want that Sabbath year, because being a church warden is as vocational as being, a vicar, being a treasurer or a lay chair. They're all vocational roles. And we're very blessed here at St. Peter's because we have 2 church wardens, both of whom feel very strongly that it is their vocation and calling as Christians to be church wardens. Now, Joy, and we're so grateful to her for this, has done 6 years as church warden. And the way that we can enable Joy to continue in her vocation is to take the church warden's measure and say as a church that we overturn the provision that says you have to not stand for election. Once we've done that once, it stands forever, which means that if Phil is still feeling vocational this time next year, he can just stand, should you wish to overturn the church warden's measure. So the first thing I'd like to put to you is that I would be grateful to have a proposal and a seconder from the floor, please, to overturn the provision in the church warden's measure that prevents people from standing for election after 6 years. I have a proposer in Rob Walker and a seconder in Rosie Rushton. Thank you very much. So can I put it to the vote? Are you willing to overturn the church warden's measure? And that looks unanimous to me. Thank you very much indeed. That done, I am very glad to tell you that we have 2 candidates for 2 places as church wardens, from Joy Matzel and Phil Norris. I therefore, since no one else has stood for church warden, and can I just clarify for anyone who's thinking, are you sure? Assistant wardens are elected by the PCC, and assistant warden places will be dealt with at the next PCC meeting, and we've got 3 people who may well come out of that meeting as assistant wardens, but church wardens we elect now. So I declare Joy Matzel and Phil Norris duly elected. Thank you so much. And a huge, heartfelt thank you from me, and I'm sure all of the church, to you, Joy, and to you, Phil, for the enormous amount of work that you do as church wardens. Occasionally, people ask me if I sleep in the church, what children do, and I say, no, that's Phil. Thank you. I now close the meeting of parishioners and hand over to John for the annual parochial church meeting.
Okay, so we have the annual parochial church meeting, which is open to all those members who are on the electoral roll. We have apologies from Emma Cooper, Tessa Cave, Ellie Wooding, Claire Shaw, Jan Stepani, Barbara Bream, Stephen and Elizabeth Parker, Lorraine Bewley-Tippler, Deborah and Peter Hodgkinson, and John and Katie Baxter. Thank you. So the first item of business for the APCM is the election of PCC representatives. We have 5 vacancies, and at the moment we've got 4 nominations, being Emma Cooper, Rosemary Pestel, Rob Walker and Lavinia Williams. There being less nominations than there are places available, I'm happy to declare therefore that these people are duly elected as PPC representatives to serve for 3 years. If you'd like to serve on the PCC and have forgotten to put your application form in, do have a word afterwards, because we have 1 more vacancy which we are able to fill by the PCC in due course. So if you are interested, it's a wonderful job. Please do see me afterwards.
I concur with that. Most vicars dread PCC nights and need a large tot of whiskey afterwards. I love PCC nights and don't need the whiskey. Sometimes I have it anyway, but, you know, our PCC is great and I commend it to you. So think about it.
The next part of formal business is to appoint an independent examiner who, as you will see, examines the accounts that are prepared and signs them off as being, in all material respects, he hasn't found anything wrong with them. Howard Leatherland has done it for quite a good few years now. I'm pleased to say, enervated by his recent trek around Nepal, he's willing to continue as independent examiner. Could I please have a proposal for that? Phil Norris. Seconder, Rosie Rushton. All those in favour of appointed Howard? I think that's unanimous again. Any against? No, that's great. Thank you very much, sir. Howard Leatherland is duly appointed as independent examiner. We now come to the formal reports that are required to be covered in this meeting. This first one is on the new electoral roll. You will all know, and you've all managed, I think, to sign up to it, that we've made a new electoral roll this year, which we have to do every 6 years. And I report that the number of people on the electoral roll is 133, compared with 192 at 8th of April 2024, when it was last revised, which is quite a significant drop, but there's not a surprise to us because quite a few of the names of the people on the electoral roll were no longer coming to church, and therefore I think this represents a fairer position of more regular members. Again, if there's anybody here who's sneaked in and is not on the electoral roll, or if you know anybody who you think is a regular member and you've not seen their name on the list, which is on the website, please do encourage them. The electoral roll is now open for, well, will be open after the meeting for new members. The formal notice of the meeting said we have to look at the annual report of the PCC and their activities of the parish generally. This was covered in the service, the 10 o'clock service, very comprehensive report, and we will probably put those slides up on the website for people to look at for the next couple of weeks. But they told you nothing new that was not in the report of the accounts, which you've all had. But I think it's sensible now. I don't think Beverly wants to add anything more to it.
I do not.
You've probably heard enough. But I think it is sensible, this is a sensible stage to ask for any questions on the stuff that was in the report, other than finance, which we'll cover in a minute. Does anybody have any questions or observations? Okay, thank you very much. We now come to the financial statements, which have been previously circulated. I'm pleased to tell you I'm not going to spend very long on this. I'm happy to take any questions, but we'll run through it fairly quickly. The income for the year was 161,395 compared to 154,795 in 2023. Excluding charitable giving, the legacies and fabric fund income, the main income of our church is plan giving and donations and gift aid. I'm pleased to report that that increased by 8,800. You will recall, and I will return to it in a minute, we had a stewardship campaign in 2023, and the results of that started to come in later in 2023 and have been seen in 2024. Friends of St. Peter's raised 1,600 for the Fabric Fund compared to 3,600 in the previous year. The expenditure for the year was 173,847 compared with 173,269. Charitable giving fell by 1,435, and spending on youth work, which was funded by Eakins Trust, increased from 853 to 2,509. So we had quite a push last year at our youth work, as you would have heard from Beverly earlier on, schools work, the various groups that are run during the week or during the month, and the spend on that, which we are grateful for the funding from Eakins Trust, funds all our work on that. Other highlights of the financial statements, we have money invested, mainly from previous legacies, and that the investment value has increased by 7,250 in the year. They will have dropped since, but we're pleased to see that. And we did raise just over 10,500 for various charities, together with donations in kind for Baby Basics and Food Bank. And again, Beverly covered that sort of thing in our meeting. So I referred earlier on to the fact that our income is primarily from you guys and other members of the church. So thank you for all your giving. Without it, the church wouldn't exist here. I don't apologise for talking about money, I never do. It is the scaffolding which enables us to do what we do. But there's no magic central pot of money. It depends on monthly, annual giving from church members. So thank you to all who gave and to those who increase their giving by inflation annually. Quite a few people have signed up to that now, and that's really good because you don't have to think about it. It just comes out of your bank account every month, and it increases our income year on year. So where are we? As I say, we have this stewardship campaign in 2023, a couple of years ago, and our income from giving, compared with where we were in 2022, has increased by just over 15,000, an increase of 15.6%, and that's compared to a 7.8% rise in inflation. So it has gone up a little bit, but we are, of course, always challenged by increased costs. The bulk of our costs, apart from parish share, is staffing costs, and they have to go up every year to continue to pay our staff a reasonable amount. And despite that increase in giving, for which we are truly thankful, at the moment we still have to run a deficit budget, and we have told that the diocese may not be able to pay our parish share in full. We told them that for 2024. We were able to pay it in the end from reserves. But we're in the continuing position of having to increase our income to be able to have a balanced budget. So just a very brief challenge. I haven't locked the doors today. You're welcome to leave at any time. But if you're not on regular giving yet, could you sign up? And if you are regularly giving through standing order, could you increase it by maybe the higher of £20 a month or 10%? Because as I say, our costs go up. It's easy when we sign up to a standing order, then we just leave it for 15 years and it doesn't change. So just think about those two things. We will be returning in October to looking at legacies and regular giving in due course. But don't wait till then. If you feel that you are able to give some more, please do have a word afterwards. You've had the accounts for quite a while. Does anybody have any questions on finances? Okay, so next turn to the formal report.
Sorry, just before you go on,
Sorry.
John, can I offer a vote of thanks on behalf of the people of St Peter's to John Hunt, our Treasurer, for his work with finance, and to you, your support to work with the finance.
We turn now to the report on the fabric, goods and ornaments of the church that has been circulated by email. The key highlights are that, if I can read this,
Quinquennial work.
quinquennial work has been completed, just waiting sign off from the architect, and that's been funded by a good number of grants and by the Fabric Fund. We have a new vestry toilet which is still being installed, being completed soon, I hope, and that has been funded by a very generous gift, which we'll hear more about in due course. We've undertaken other minor work as described in Philip Joy's report, and as always I would like to record our thanks to the Friends of St Peter's for the work they do in fundraising to enable the quinquennial work to be completed, and hopefully will continue to enable us to support and keep the fabric in decent condition, not least because we've got another quinquennial in 2026, so we've still got a few bits of work to finish on that, but all the major work has been completed. Any other matters? I think not. Anybody else want to say anything? In which case, Deanery Synod, so I missed that. Sorry, I apologise for that. I managed to do that. Right, reports of the Deanery Synod. Back again. There were four. Deanery Synod representatives are Lorraine Bewley-Tippler, John Fazackley, Claire Pearce, who's also the lay chair of the Deanery Synod, Sue Pinnington and Hilary Spenceley. We've had 4 meetings in the year. In February we finalised the Deanery plan and heard about chaplaincy in prisons. In June we heard about the work of the Hope Centre and discussed prayers in love and faith. In September it was primarily a meeting with Bishop Debbie. And in November, we considered the work of the Mothers' Union and heard an update about the Diocesan Advisory Committee and faculty processes. So that's the final formal report. Any other matters? I think so, nothing that we have to formally deal with. In which case, and you'll be amazed and pleased to know that...
I think Joy's got some...
Sorry, Joy, you're standing up and saying something. I couldn't do your bit. I was waiting for you. I couldn't quite see where you were, so...
Very little. Right. Okay, Beverly, you began, or during your report, you thanked us all for your generosity. And then during your report, you shared all of the wonderful work that happens within the family of St Peter's and the community that surrounds it. You concluded your report by giving one big thank you to everybody. Very different from last year when you thanked everybody by name. So, on behalf of us all, the church family and the community, I would like to thank you for your spiritual leadership, your guidance, your energy, your vision, and all the work you do to enable all that to happen. Thank you from all of us. Thank you.
You've had advance warning of this. Thank you for attending. There we are. You can go home now.
Thank you all very much indeed. It never feels quite right to just leave a church, doesn't it? So let's try this. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
In the name